Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Golden Goal Fantasy Football Podcast. This week, I'm very pleased to say that I'm going to be talking Sky Sports Fantasy Football, joined by my good mate Sam. How are you doing, mate? It's good to see you.
Good, mate. Feels like a little rerun, this, doesn't
It
it?
does. We don't do this live, and thankfully we don't, because we probably spent about 5 minutes talking, and I didn't press record. So, rookie error from me there. You can all laugh at me.
Round two. Yeah, all good my end. Thanks, mate. All good.
Yeah, we've already said this, but just a quick. Are you able to give the viewers just a quick run through of how you're getting on in Sky, mate?
Well, they didn't hear it a minute ago on the non-recorded version. Yeah, I'm just saying much of a muchness, really, kind of around, well, actually 5 minutes ago, I was about 4.5K. I've now looked and I'm 3.9K. So it shows how condensed the points are. Mr. McAllister kind of, I wouldn't say haul, but bonus haul on that single versus Brentford. I had Trossards. It's a bit frustrating, but had an all right weekend. Not having to make too many moves. Pretty much sat on my hands. I think I made one. Madison to Foden, with kind of City looking pretty good and Foden looking decent moving forward. As I said, 3.9K, half decent amount of transfers in hand, and just really sticking to the plan. Just saying, weren't we, that it's quite difficult to gauge really where you're at with so many people on Sky just burning through transfers. So I'm just very much keeping what I'd think a calm head and just sticking to my game, and hopefully opportunities will show themselves as the weeks go on and people run out of moves and sort of come to the fore.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull up the average transfer remaining stats because I'm pretty sure Sky shared those today.
They did, mate.
And I
Oh,
didn't.
today, did they?
Yeah, or something like that. But they didn't.
Right, yeah, it wasn't long ago, was it?
But they didn't do it in time for me to get the video ready. So I'm just going to have to run through them. But yeah, in terms of my team, might be worth if you could have a look, mate, while I just talk through my teams.
Yeah, of
But
course I can.
I'm in one of my teams in 8K with 39 transfers, and I got another one in 5K with the same number. The reason they're so different is one team had Trossard in it and the other team had McAllister in it. I thought I'd pick both options, across my A and B team, because it felt like that kind of split captaincy decision to do that with. And yeah, one team's reaped the rewards of McAllister. The only problem I have is in my lesser ranked, my better team, I don't currently have Mo Salah. So I'm going to have to use another transfer to bring him in tomorrow, because I've currently got Harry Kane. But I just think you need to go to. It just feels like you need to go to Mo Salah, doesn't it, for tomorrow's game against West Ham?
Yeah, I mean, now he's since the Rangers game when he came on, he's been moved up top and into like a 4-4-2 Liverpool, and he's looked. I mean, that was a complete performance versus City. He bullied them to death, didn't he? And he got the goal. And had it not been for an excellent Ederson save, he would have probably had another one. And then if it not been for Darwin Núñez's extreme madness on that 3-for-1, it could have been a hat trick. I feel like, and I think most fantasy players will think this, when Salah starts to look good, he's pretty indispensable, right? So I think there'll be a lot on clambering to get him back in. I've held him all the way through. Don't know if that's Liverpool bias or just kind of I've been expecting him to eventually come good. I don't know, but I'm in the not so unfortunate position of having to bring him back in, which I knew would be inevitable. I've got
Yeah,
those transfer stats actually, Tom. Do you want me to run through
yeah,
them?
go for it, mate.
That's 4 days ago, so obviously stuff will have happened since
Okay.
then. But the top 10 are 15 left, so so that's
They've used
you've
35
got.
of their 50. It's
I
insane, isn't it?
was going to say you're three times the amount, or just under or whatever. Top 122, so a little bit healthier. Top foul 27.9, and the top five foul 31.8. So we're both comfortably above
Yeah.
the averages there, which is what we'd expect to be so far.
Yeah, nice one. What I thought we'd do in this episode is, well, I've already gone through this again, but quickly go through the fixtures that have been played this game week.
Yeah.
We're recording this on the Tuesday, so the two games going on at the moment are Nottingham Forest and Brighton, and Crystal Palace and Wolves. So we can't talk about those because they're currently happening and probably be out of date by the time they finished. And then we got the remaining fixtures for this game week and next to talk through as well, because it's all happening thick and fast. So yeah, first up, I thought I'd just run through the Game Week 11 fixtures that have already been played. First up being Brentford and Brighton that was played on Friday. I'm just pulling up FF stuff to see if there are any outstanding players. I think one observation about Brighton, I know they lost the game 2-0, but there were 4 players for Brighton that got passing bonus. So the Dunk and the Websters of the world, they seem to be getting passing bonus pretty much every game now. And Casado and McAllister both came away with passing bonus as well. So it looks like the centre-backs and the centre midfielders are picking up passing bonus quite regularly for Brighton now.
Yeah, and if I know that this is going to kind of be irrelevant, but it's nearly half time in the Brighton Nottingham Forest game, and Feltman, Dunk, Webster, Casado, and McAllister are all either halfway there or over halfway there to bonus already. So, it sort of bodes well that they're starting to string kind of that possession-based football together. And we talked about it the other week, didn't we? Saying that if they do return to passing, that any of those back kind of 3 or 4 and Casado would be really, really good options for Brighton moving forward because they're very nicely priced.
Yeah, obviously Tony with the brace, and Raya, I think, looks like he made 7 saves and kept a clean sheet. So nice little haul from a couple of Brentford players there. But yeah, I know you were saying you went Trossard, but I think those that had McAllister will be happy to come away with the 9-pointer.
Yeah, he seems like I think he'll be a popular pick in the overhaul for bonus. He looks on for it tonight as well so far. Yeah, Trossard said, but I knew he's one of those players, isn't it, where it's feast or famine. We're just hoping this evening that as Trossard owners that he will get some half decent returns. So we'll see what happens in that second half. Quite happy to hold him for tonight.
And just running through the fixtures on the Saturday, I'll just call off some headlines that I'm seeing in the stats. In the Leicester Palace game, all of the centre-backs got passing bonus for both teams. Maddison was my main talking point of that game. I own him in a couple of other fantasy games, and he needed to behave himself in this game and not get a yellow card, and he took a dive in the 94th minute and got booked. So I'm sure I'm not alone in being frustrated with him there.
No, I've got him in all formats as well, mate. So at least we can say the better there.
Fulham Bournemouth, saves bonus for Leno, and then Diop and Ream both came away with passing bonus. I'm not sure that's a regular thing with Fulham. It might have just been the way that they set up the Bournemouth. And then there was a tackle bonus and an assist for Billing as well, which is of interest.
He's ticked over a little bit, hasn't he, Billing?
He's not too bad. I think you get what you pay for with him. I think just the sheer size of him, he's a threat pretty much in any league. Like, he could cause anyone problems, I think. I'm just looking at Wolves Forest, no passing bonus at all in that game, and a few bits of tackles. Well, Neves with shots bonus obviously scored the penalty to win the game, and then Yates for Forest with tackles, but that's really all there was to note. Then moving on to...
Not much exciting from either team there, is there?
No, sweet FA really. And Henderson, that was my last game with Dean Henderson in my team as well. I'm very pleased to be rid of him now. He wasn't quite as good as I thought he'd be. And then the Spurs-Everton game. The 3 Spurs centre-backs each picked up passing bonus. Obviously Harry Kane with his goal, and saves bonus for Pickford, but that's expected when Spurs had as many shots as they did. So that's the Saturday. I think the main talking point on the first Sunday game, Villa v Chelsea, mate, I just had a feeling that Kepa is now the first choice keeper for Chelsea. I don't know if you watched the game, but he was unbelievable, mate. Like, some of the saves he was making, it reminded me of David De Gea when he was in his prime for United. Like, he was an absolute wall. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, we were discussing it beforehand, weren't we? I think I'd stuck it on my back burner a couple of weeks ago as a potential move, especially at 6-6. and then actually I think chucked it in the chat and then bottled it. And you were firmly on it. Dan was firmly on it. A few others were, and my decision was just wanted to wait till Mendy was back to see. Whereas I think you just thought it's quite a risk averse move, really. At 6-6, you can always ship him on, and the upside's fairly good. And you were rewarded, mate, instantly, weren't you?
Yeah, and I think I've got a keeper right up until overhaul now.
Yeah.
But I think another alternative might have presented itself in the Leeds and Arsenal game. Ramsdale came away with an absolute haul in that one. Clean sheet, saves bonus, and Bamford missed a penalty. So yeah, Ramsdale got a nice little haul in that one. And I also think with the quality of Arsenal's fixtures up until the overhaul, he's a perfectly decent replacement for Henderson as well.
He's on my watch list. I've just got to make it fit financially because obviously I've got Henderson in, so a lot of the money's outfield. But I think I've done that move on FPL. Martinez or whoever I had, I can't remember who I had in for Ramsdale. You're absolutely right. Nice fixtures, good goalkeeper.
And
Kind of
yeah,
makes sense. When Arsenal are flying, they're doing really well. They're looking really solid. So there's nothing not to like there, to be honest with you.
yeah, and Saliba proving his worth once again. 82 passes. Well, I
Been
don't know how
brilliant,
he got a
mate.
clean sheet in that game because they had two penalties leads. One was missed and one was removed for VAR. So yeah,
Yeah,
I feel lucky to have that clean sheet, but I'll definitely take it.
yeah, agreed.
United, Newcastle, not much to note. I guess quite a few might have Nick Pope in goal. Obviously, clean sheet for him.
Or Trippier.
Or Trippier, yeah, good shout.
I've got Shah in there at 7 mil. I don't think he'd be a typical. I think he's actually quite nicely priced, and he's picked up a bit of bonus. Newcastle look pretty solid. He can also be a goal threat, can't he?
Yeah,
Um,
that's a real comment about Shah. He's up there when you see all the models. He's like right up there with Perisic in terms of goal threat for defenders. He's pretty ridiculous, to be honest.
yeah. So at 7 mil, he was a replacement for Fana. So that was his first return for me. I think third game. So yeah, I'm happy to hold him at the moment. And yeah, it's not, as I said, I don't think he would fit into my absolute ideal enabler, but I think he's pretty close. Um,
You certainly
I
wouldn't
think
want to get rid of
he'll
him.
definitely do. He'll do till overhaul for sure.
Then there was Southampton, West Ham. Not a great deal to note in this game. Just that Rice obviously got the good winning goal for the game, and he made 67 passes. So those that have stayed with Rice, I think most probably have sold him by now. But you've been rewarded for sticking with. And then obviously we've got the Liverpool Man City game. Everyone knows how that went. It was unfortunate for me and, well, quite a few other players. Cancelo only got 30 passes and 3 tackles. So obviously no clean sheet, no bonus. It was a rare blank for him. All the players you'd expect for City, other than Cancelo coming away with passing bonus, really. Another game for Rodri where he got double bonus. I always come back to Rodri as just an option, really. I know he's not the most exciting, but you can pretty much guarantee he's got 5 to 7 points a game.
Yeah, I think when City go to Liverpool, you can almost write off kind of like bit mega hauls for the back line. Really, it's a pretty hostile environment, isn't it? And I always feel like when when it was like it was on Sunday, the back line can get a little bit unnerved, and you saw sort of Salah bullying 2 or 3 of their back defenders, and obviously Span Cancelo for the goal. So it's like, as a Cancelo owner, I wouldn't, I don't really think too much about that, and you just wait for those games where he can haul in any game. So, you know, he's high quality, isn't he? But potentially, I think that Liverpool kind of away fixture is probably the toughest one out of the lot.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the Liverpool crowd had a real effect as well. The atmosphere sounded unbelievable on the telly, and yeah, fair play. I think,
I think
I'd never support Liverpool in a game, but I'm quite happy they won because I think it keeps the league more interesting.
Yeah, I think as a Liverpool fan, I think what Gary Neville said was bang on. It was like the first time we're going to a game really where against City where we weren't level with them in terms of or closely neck and neck in terms of quality. They're clearly a couple of levels or a level up at the moment anyway. So the fans obviously then made themselves 12th man, didn't they? And they were like cheering every tackle, and the press was really, really aggressive and good. And yeah, that definitely helped the players out. I think it was Liverpool's best performance by a country mile this season.
Yeah, and James Milner, I was so impressed with how he played as well.
Yeah,
I think
right.
he taught Trent a bit of a defensive lesson. I think so. Yeah, hopefully for the sake of my FPL team, Trent can come back in and start performing again. But yeah, I was really
He
impressed with
he
Milner.
he humble pied a lot of people, including myself. But then we were set up really, really well out of possession. Like it was two blocks of four, which is like it's gone back to like the Sean Dyche way, isn't it? And obviously the double kind of Fabinho and Thiago centre midfield obviously helped with the protection, and Harvey Elliott was good defensively. Jota was fantastic defensively as well. I think hence why he injured himself towards the end. So that definitely helped the fullbacks out. So yeah, I think if Liverpool move forward with this formation and whatnot, then I think you're right about Trent. He could start returning a little bit better.
And then just looking at the games for the remaining games for this week. So on Wednesday we've got Bournemouth, Southampton, Brentford, Chelsea, Newcastle, Everton, Liverpool, West Ham, and Man United, Tottenham. I'm sitting in a position where I own Harry Kane, but I don't have Mo Salah, and I've got to decide whether it's worth selling, whether it's worth using a transfer to get rid of Kane for Salah, even though it's like a sideways move for captaincy.
Yeah, maybe you need to have a look at who would be the more captained for you, at least in hindsight, from now till the overhaul.
Yeah,
That might help you move. I mean, Kane has been ticking over really nicely. I know we've been talking about him, but he's just been returning. He's had a couple of penalties, but then Salah's on penalties as well. So it's a tricky decision, and Salah's looked great since playing centre forward. I mean, it was only a game and a half ago, wasn't it? How things change. I know we were on the fan team one, and I was saying, that Salah could potentially be moved on. So how things do change quickly in football, but with a depleted West Ham back four apparently, and potentially Salah back at the helm of that front line, it feels a bit of a scary prospect going without him, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah, that's going to require some thinking tomorrow night, I think. I guess it's really Salah and Kane. Are you seeing anyone else that stands out to you that day?
No, I'll be on Salah. I own Salah and Kane in both sides, so I think I won't even split it. I think I'll just stick Salah on both of them.
And then a couple of games on Thursday. We got Fulham Villa and Leicester Leeds. I mean, I don't actually own him because I sold him for McAllister because I was a little bit worried about his injury, but then he just started. But Mitrovic is probably the outstanding captain on this day, and it may well be that I just do McAllister to Mitrovic, to be fair. I think getting McAllister for two captaincies and then back to Mitrovic is not the end of the world.
Yeah, my decision here is whether I keep Jesus for that really nice run, or if I do Jesus to Mitrovic, or if I just stick the armband on Polinia. He's proven he can get points. That's a decision to make. I'm sure I was in the same boat as you, Tom. I was all eyes on James Maddison being my captain for this night. And like you said,
Bottled
95th,
it, hasn't it? Yeah.
94th minute. Yeah, it gets the yellow card and has the ban. So again, the decision there for me. But there could be something wangled for me in the form of Jesus out for Mitrovic, and then maybe a Saka or a Martinelli coming into that midfield for Trossard moving forward for that little run. And then that might free up the money for either Allison or Ramsdale in goal, because I've kind of got an eye to going back to Allison again, as a bit of a kind of not different. I suppose it would be a differential, and just hoping that Liverpool continue the form from City. Obviously, there's no guarantees for that, but that's kind of a maybe something I would do. That would be three moves though, so I need to make sure now that I'm not just wasting transfers to the overhaul. I want to be at about 35, something like that, I think.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I could use a transfer on Mitrovic, but I also have Polinia and Tyler Adams in my teams. In both of my teams, they've got both of those players. So, yeah, another one that I'm going to have to think about, really. I think I either do one of Kane to Salah or bring in Mitrovic. And I think I've got to decide which one of those I want to do, really. So, yeah, we'll see. Looking into game week 12, on the Saturday, I think it depends, doesn't it? I think Salah has earned his right to be considered as captain for this day. So it's Forest against Liverpool, where you see the lineups, and then City against Brighton, where you don't. I mean, not that that adds anything. I think Haaland is very likely to play against Brighton. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But it's a split captaincy, I think, between Salah and Haaland there. Brighton not horrendous defensively, and obviously Forest, we know what they're like. What are your thoughts on that Saturday, mate?
Very much depends on how Liverpool look tomorrow night and if they can carry that on. But I think as it stands, I'd be quite happy to captain Salah on that day. See the lineup. I know it's the early kickoff, and people have this theory never captain the player on the early. But said if Liverpool continue with the 4-4-2 and Salah's right at the pin at the front of that, this again going back to our earlier conversation, Tom, about not overthinking anything. That's a pretty good game on paper. But obviously, Man City at home, they're going to want to bounce back, and they will bounce back. There's no doubt about that. So I think it is going to be a fairly split day, and I think that could result in some changes in the league table.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. And to be honest, I wouldn't want to tell anyone to pick either player. I think both of them are almost equally good captains, and yeah, I think you're very wise to say just watch and see how Liverpool play on Wednesday. If they can keep up the form and the quality they played against Man City with, I think there's a genuine justification to captain Salah there.
I think there's also like a Cancelo or something for that day is a really good shout. Like you just feel like City could come away with a clean sheet, and Cancelo could pick up multiple bonuses there and assist even. I think he's quite a viable option as well. But so would a Liverpool defender, a Van Dijk or a Robbo or whatever, even an Alisson. So I think there's like 3 or 4 fairly good options on that day that could come away 20 points plus. It's just choosing the right one, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, and speaking of choosing the right one, Sunday the 23rd, I think the 2 games to note where there's a captaincy is Southampton at home to Arsenal and then Tottenham at home to Newcastle. I think on paper, my strongest captain there is Jesus, but I've got to decide whether I want to use a transfer to bring him in or if I'm just happy leaving the armband on Kane.
Yeah, because Newcastle have looked pretty solid, haven't they? I think if you've got, again, a Martinelli, a Saka, a Jesus, that's a good shout. I think if you've got a Son or a Kane, that's a good shout. Tony, I think if you've got Tony v Villa look really quite crap, don't they? And I wouldn't be against Mitrovic against Leeds. I think there's quite another. It's going to be a bit of a split. Yeah. I think I'd fancy. Do you know who I think I'd fancy there, Tom? If I had him, fancy Tony against Villa.
Yeah, that's a fair point. He'd have rewarded his owners pretty well, wouldn't he? 2 goals against Brighton, and then
brilliant, mate, isn't he? This season, I've not had him once in Sky. I don't think. I've pretty much had him all season in other formats, and the only reason I haven't is just to the fact that there's been 3 firing strikers at any given time, and so you can't have them all, can you?
Yeah, exactly. It's been really good this season, hasn't it? I remember last season we were, well, I can't remember if we had a complete shortage, but at one point I had like Armando Broja in my Sky team just because he was cheap and I didn't have enough. There weren't enough strikers that excited me. But this season we've got no shortage of choice, have we? There's lots of options there, and it's similarly to the Saturday as well. I don't think there's any reason to definitively tell someone to captain a particular player on Sunday. I think there are lots of options, and do your own research really, and find the player that you prefer. Because like we said, there's 4 or 5 you could pick.
I think it's Paul McNulty, isn't it? It says that on those split days, you can, like, if you're looking to chase, then that's your opportunity then to go with a bit of a differential pick. And I think probably a Salah or Haaland on the Saturday is probably the wiser option. But I think on the Sunday, if you're looking to try and make up some ground, and the majority are on Jesus, for example, or Kane, like I said, Tony, I think is absolutely plausible. And if he gets a couple of goals or whatever, then you're right up the rankings, aren't you?
And then finally, to round off Gameweek 12, on Monday the 24th, we got West Ham at home to Bournemouth.
I'm thinking about skipping this at the moment. I've got that Schumacher or whatever he's called up front on the B team if he starts. Bournemouth have looked good, mate, haven't they, the last few games? Jarrod Bowen he's had a couple of goals, hasn't he? But one of them was a penalty. They haven't fully clicked, have they, West Ham? They've improved, but there's enough. I know we can haul. I know we could come away with a 13 pointer or whatever, but at the moment, I think I might skip that. I don't know how much FOMO will kick in on the day. I think Solanke's a good option as well, by the way. And it sounds crazy saying that. I think yeah, I think he's not a bad shout as an alternative at all.
The thing with West Ham to note as well is that David Moyes has been saying that he doesn't have any fit centre backs at the moment, which is another reason why I'm absolutely terrified of Salah on Wednesday. But it's another justification to have a look at Solanke. I've already sent it on Bowen in one of my teams. I just did Maddison to Bowen, ready for the Southampton game, which I thought was sensible, but it hasn't paid off so far. But yeah, I think Solanke, perfectly decent shout. Maybe you could do Mitrovic for the Thursday game, or take someone out for Mitrovic for the Thursday game, have Mitrovic for the Sunday game as well, and then on to Solanke for Monday. That wouldn't be a horrendous set of transfers, I don't think.
Yeah, that's one where you just make the two moves and you come away with two 4 pointers and leave yourself banging your head. Or Mitrovic and Solanke both have good days and you're well up on the move. I think had this have been last season, I think a lot of people would have been clambering to bring Solanke in. With what you just said about lack of decent strikers, I think at the moment there's just too many good options unless you do a literal daisy chain move where you're going like 1, 2, 3 and back to like Jesus or whoever it is again. I don't know how I'd feel about Solanke kind of long term with a potential lack of another big striker there. But I think, like you said, I would never put someone off that move at all.
What I thought I'd quickly do next, I showed last week some points per game per million stats, and I changed the filter this week just to look at the last 4 game weeks. I don't think there are any real surprises in there. I think more than anything, this just makes me terrified of Phil Foden. I don't have him yet.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit terrified, I must say.
Yeah, I've now got him. As I said, I couldn't afford Maddison to Bowen. I wasn't wholeheartedly set on Bowen either, so it wasn't like I was desperate to make that move. So I did Maddison to Foden for the Liverpool game. As I said, he had the ball in the back of the net. Rightly disallowed, of course. But I think he's a great option moving forward and up to the overhaul. So I can understand why, Tom, you're have a little bit of FOMO.
And yeah, in terms of just in terms of goalkeepers as well, because we were it's quite a popular question, I imagine, people trying to get rid of Dean Henderson or looking for the best goalkeeper going forward. See, top of the list in terms of goalkeepers at the moment is Kepa. I think in terms of his value, he is probably the best keeper. But if you've got a bit more budget, I'd say Ramsdale is a really good shout too. Looking at the two together, Ramsdale definitely has the better fixtures, but obviously Kepa is cheaper. Loris is up there, Meslier as well. That's a bit of a rogue one, but Meslier's in the list for the last 4 game weeks. And we've also got Guaita and Danny Ward as well. Danny Ward's only 6.1 million if you fancy him. They've somehow kept some clean sheets of Leicester. I don't know how they've managed to turn it around.
No, I think if you did that, the money is spent outfield. You want 10 premiums, don't you? Yeah, I think if Kepa is the starting goalkeeper now, at least until overhaul, ahead of Mendy, then I think he is the obvious shout. But as you said, I think Ramsdale with their fixtures towards the overhaul is also an extremely good shout. And like you said, those player total points per game per million, back that up.
Yeah, and I think this stat for me is almost like the Bible in fantasy football because it shows you, who gives you the most bang for the buck in terms of money.
Yeah.
So if, for
it's
example,
solid data, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you pick like the top 11 players on this list per position, you're probably going to be, nearly top of the leaderboard. So yeah, these are the kind of stats that I personally think people need to look at to see who the best picks in the game are.
Definitely, mate. Totally agree.
Okay, what I thought we'd do with the last sort of 10 minutes or so is just run through some Twitter questions because, quite a few questions on Twitter this week. So thank you everyone that asked some. I'll start off with Michael Harland. So he's asking who to captain on Wednesday. He's got the choice of Virgil van Dijk, Eric Dyer, Raya, Ivan Toney, Bowen, or Thiago Silva. He was either thinking Silva or Van Dijk, but the way Tony is playing, he might just go for him as a differential.
Yeah, Brentford at home. I don't mind that. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think I'd be between Tony and Van Dijk. I just think Van Dijk. I don't want to say it because it's just been one and a half games, but it looks like he's probably going to get passing bonus. There's probably likelihood for a clean sheet, and there's probably also potential there for a goal from a set piece, especially when we talked about what we said earlier. So from those, Tom, I would say Van Dijk is the standout there, but I wouldn't be against Tony whatsoever.
No, neither would I. And having watched the Villa-Chelsea game, Kepa had an unbelievable game, but I don't know if he can keep that up. Now, if Chelsea play, I didn't think Chelsea actually played that well in that game. And if they play like that against Brentford, I think they can get beaten. And yeah, if Brentford score goals, Tony scores goals. So yeah, I don't mind Tony.
Yeah, both good options there, Tom, I think.
Josh Sky FF, so he's brought in Salah for Kane on Sunday for the 3-for-1. He planned to move Salah onto Jesus for the 30th. Would you stick with that plan or keep Salah until the overhaul, or even back to Kane? No funds elsewhere, and Zaha will be leaving for Bowen on Monday. I think if we're talking about the 30th, if I just flash those fixtures back up again. So if we're talking about the 30th, was it 30th?
Yeah, that's what he said, which is Sunday.
Yeah, I'm going a bit far in advance for this then. Let's have a look.
Game week 13.
Yeah, just looking at the fixtures.
Arsenal, Forest, and there's Arsenal, Forest, and Newcastle. No, sorry. Arsenal, Forest, and United, West Ham. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you've got to go for Jesus on that day, haven't you?
Yeah, or like a Ramsdale. I mean, Tom, a Saliba.
Yeah, that's true.
He's possibly going to come out that day with 10-pointer there, which would need to be a goal and shots bonus for Jesus. So I think if you don't have Jesus that day, it's not a major panic.
I keep forgetting about Saliba. You're absolutely right, mate. And we talked about those captaincies on Sunday the 23rd as well. Southampton, Arsenal. We forgot to mention Saliba as a captaincy option this week as well. I really like that.
Yeah, I think he's just on one of those seasons, isn't he? Sort of Stuart Dallas style, like where it's just like pops out of a goal or assist or like passing bonus for ease, clean sheet, looks like Rolls Royce out on the pitch. It's a great option, mate. As I said last week, he's the gift that keeps giving.
And don't get me wrong, Jesus, he is a really good player, and Arsenal have made a really good signing in him. But I can't say he's not been prolific, but his points have not been like world beating. So he's on 67 points in total at the moment. And what has Saliba got?
He had
Saliba's
a hat-trick,
on.
remember, mate? Didn't
Yeah,
he?
he had a
hat-trick
big game against Leicester. Yeah. And Saliba's only on 58, so they're pretty comparable. So yeah, I don't hate that at all, Sam. I think that's a real option. You could just captain Saliba that day.
Yeah, and like I said to you earlier, mate, there might be an option for me to have like a Saka or Martinelli in the team as well, and both of them are looking great, and they're both ticking over really well. So yeah, I think that can be covered. I can't remember his initial question now because he's sort of gone off onto Arsenal, but yeah, there's plenty of Arsenal options there. It doesn't have to be Jesus. In fact, I don't think he's the best option, if I'm honest.
No, I think that's fair. Another question.
I think Saliba for that day.
Yeah, exactly, mate. And hopefully that helps you, Josh, because I can see why you're getting a bit tied up on Jesus there, but I think you could just keep Salah, and as long as you have Saliba, of course, which I imagine you probably do, I think Saliba's a perfectly decent captain. Michael Harland, another question from him. How many transfers do you plan to have going into the World Cup?
I think I said it earlier, didn't I? Around 35. What we got, four game weeks? Something like that.
Ish,
12, 13, 14, 55. Yeah. So if I'm on 39 or something along those lines, similar to you, then yeah, 34 to 35, I think.
Same.
Yeah. Like I'm not adverse, Tom, to making 3 or 4 moves, and that would take me down to 35, 36. Even another one, 34. So I'm quite happy to the options arise from some of those little things we talked about earlier, then I'll do it. But I think that's where I'll be.
FPL Spartans, regular viewer, thank you for your question, mate. He says he's got Ruben Diaz, who he thinks is a little bit pricey compared to other Man City assets and might be subject to rotation. Would you move him to a cheaper option or just keep him?
So I've got Diaz in my B team, and he's gone on a. So he's gone since the Newcastle game. He's gone 4 pointer, 10 pointer, 5 pointer, 10 pointer, 10 pointer, 5 pointer. So
I
for
wouldn't
me,
be getting rid of him.
that's just a keep. Yeah, it's strange. I hadn't seen that question, but I had that question myself, looking whether to move him on, and then that's when I went through the returns on Sunday after the Liverpool game, and it basically made me just say I'm just going to keep hold of him. Simple as that. To
Yeah,
the overhaul.
completely agree. Luke Notley, top differentials for each position: goalkeeper, defenders, midfielder, and striker.
Allison,
Yeah,
Salah. That seems bizarre, doesn't it? Saying that as a midfielder. I read Luke's question earlier, so had Salah and Allison there. I think Ramsdale's in for
I
a
was going to say Ramsdale.
honorary
Yeah.
nomination. At the goalkeeper. Defensively, I think potentially maybe one of the Brighton boys might just take over quite nicely. And midfield, you got any ideas there, Tom? Oh, we said Salah, haven't we? So you got any ideas up top?
I think someone like Rodri or just someone like that. Really, I know he's not exciting or going to light the world up, but I do like Rodri. I don't think there are many. I just don't know if you can call them differentials. I'm just looking at the list. None screaming out at me that are differential that I think can light the world up that people don't already know about. Maybe like Bruno Guimaraes, he seems to be picking up bonus a bit
Yeah, he
again.
does.
But he's not really a hidden player, is he, as such?
No,
Um,
no, Foden, but I think he's just risen to greater heights, hasn't he? Yeah. I mean, you could look at any of those sort of Liverpool boys really in defence, midfield, and attack, and think they could do well. So Salah, obviously maybe not up front at the moment. Maybe Bobby Firmino. I don't know. Like he's been playing really well, and not much chat about him. But Robbo, Van Dijk. I think Van Dijk is going to be again. Just got this feeling like getting on Liverpool defence again. It might be premature, but they got a really nice run, haven't they? So like a Van Dijk or an Allison. They've got West Ham, Forest, Leeds, Tottenham, Southampton, Villa. Villa takes up to the 26th of the 12th, which is probably a bit far, isn't it? But they've got a few. Yeah. So the next what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then. So West Ham, Forest, Leeds, Tottenham, and Southampton. I mean, I could see 3 to 4 clean sheets there, Tom, if they keep their act together, and passing bonus in 3 or 4 of them as well.
I was my personal pick for differential is rather than a single defender, I think it's a Man City block defence. Looking at their 4 games up until the World Cup, I can see 4 clean sheets and passing bonus in those 4 games. So if you can go for, I think Cancelo, Diaz, and probably a Kanji are probably the 3 that look like they'll play regularly. I'd just go for those 3, and I think that will do you quite well.
Yeah, nice, mate. Yeah, I like it.
I know City lost against Liverpool, but Akanji he's looked pretty solid every time I've seen him play for City so far. He's looked pretty good. So, next question from SkyFF Jake. I've already answered this, but he asks Ake or Akanji. Which would you take a punt on? Akanji for me, like I said.
Same as you, mate. For me, yeah.
And then Colombo. Oh, we've already answered that question. So hopefully you've got an answer for that one, mate. And that ends us quite nicely. Anything else to go through? Maybe a quick update of our mini league?
I was literally just about to do it. Do you want me to?
Yeah, go for it, pal.
So Ewan Angus is in first place with 1,003 points. And then a familiar name in behind, Tim Barry with 963. Mark Ryan in third at 939. Sean Rawlings at 4 for 938, joint with Mitchell Gregson. And that makes the top five. It's nice and tight, mate. So yeah, I'm well out of the running so far, but we shall see. Tim Barry's doing well. Obviously, a familiar name there, and I reckon he's probably got some good transfers in hand. So he'll definitely want to watch from now and see how he goes until the end of the season.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be buying myself biscuits or a mug this year by any chance. I think someone's gonna win one of those. It's not us. Check that out.
The guys at the top, you don't need to think about the 75k. Think about the pack of biscuits and the golden goal mug. That's the most important thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. The most coveted prize in all of fantasy football.
I was going to say money can't buy, but, just about can.
And on that note, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, leave a like rating on the video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back next week with some more Sky content. See you later.